Attorney Michael Hartman had handled hundreds of cases, but that morning felt wrong before it even began. The courthouse smelled faintly of paper and rain, the kind of air that carried nerves. His client, Avery Nolan, sat silently beside him, accused of falsifying financial records from a tech firm that had collapsed overnight. Hartman flipped through his binder one last time before the hearing. He prided himself on order, numbered tabs, clean copies, digital backups. But in Section 7, between two witness affidavits, there was a sheet of paper that shouldn't have been there. No header, no stamp, just a short typed paragraph. Transfer complete. Confirmation code 49A7CN. Do not disclose to Hartman. He stared at it, throat tightening. The formatting matched the company's internal memos, the ones that had vanished from discovery weeks ago. The missing document. He glanced around the courtroom. The prosecutor, Shaw, was reviewing notes, unaware. The clerk prepared the exhibits. No one had touched his file since last night. Hartman slid the page back in, heartbeat rising. He whispered to his assistant, "Did you update my binder this morning?" She shook her head. "You locked it in your briefcase yourself." He had. He remembered the click. The judge entered. "Court is now in session." Hartman tried to focus as the clerk called the case, but his mind was on the paper, the one that had appeared from nowhere and addressed him by name. When the prosecutor began outlining the company's financial trail, Hartman opened his binder again. The mysterious page was gone. He flipped faster, searching. Section 7. Section 8. Nothing. The gap where it had been was smooth, like it had never existed. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple. He raised his hand. "Your Honor, before we proceed, I need to confirm an addition to the defense record." The judge frowned. "Addition?" "Yes," Hartman said slowly. "Something was filed in my materials without notice." The prosecutor looked confused. "By who?" Hartman closed the binder carefully. "That's what I intend to find out." The judge nodded. "Proceed, Mr. Hartman, but watch your evidence closely. Sometimes the paper trail writes itself." The attorney didn't smile. He already knew. Trails don't write themselves. Someone writes them for you. When the morning session adjourned, Michael Hartman stayed behind in the courtroom. The jurors filed out, voices fading into echoes in the hall. He sat motionless, binder open, staring at the empty divider where the strange document had been. He didn't imagine it. The texture of the paper, the faint indentation of the typewriter font, it had felt real. And whoever had slipped it in knew his system too well. "Everything all right, Mr. Hartman?" The bailiff lingered near the door. "Yes," Hartman replied, forcing composure. "Just reviewing evidence." When the bailiff left, he removed the rest of Section 7. Invoices, audit trails, internal memos. The mysterious note mentioned a transfer code. 49A7CN. He flipped through the company records again. On page 32, a financial summary listed an outgoing wire with a partial code, 49A7CN, truncated at the end. A coincidence? Not possible. Hartman reached for his phone and dialed his assistant, Claire. "Check the file log from last night. See if anyone accessed my briefcase or the conference drive." Her voice came back after a pause. "The logs show one access at 2:47 a.m. from your account." "My account?" "Yes, your credentials. Office door sensor, too." Hartman stood up slowly. "Claire, I wasn't there at 2:47. The line went quiet.
Then someone cloned your access card. He ended the call and walked toward the evidence room. The clerk recognized him immediately. "Looking for something, Mr. Hartman?" "Yes," he said, lowering his voice. "I need to review Defense Exhibit B, the data storage drives." The clerk hesitated. "You already signed them out this morning." Hartman froze. "I what?" She pointed to the log sheet. His signature was there, perfect match, down to the looping H. He stared at it, every muscle tightening. Who was on duty when this signature was recorded? The clerk flipped her notes. "Officer Reese, but he left early, said you dismissed him personally." Hartman's pulse slowed. "No, I didn't." He looked down at the signature again, the ink still fresh, barely dry. Whoever was playing this game wasn't just framing his client, they were inside his defense. And the missing document hadn't vanished. It had moved exactly where they wanted it.
Michael Hartman sat in his car, parked under the dim light of the courthouse lot, staring through the rain-streaked windshield. The binder rested on the passenger seat, closed now, as if even looking at it could make things worse. His reflection in the glass looked like someone else entirely, a lawyer who wasn't sure who to trust, not even his own records. He unlocked his phone and opened the encrypted folder tied to the case. Every document was accounted for, except one. The metadata for the missing memo appeared briefly, then disappeared again, as if the file were being remotely accessed. He called Claire immediately. "Check the remote drive again. Someone's inside it right now." "I'm already on it," she said. "The IP traces to the district network, inside the courthouse." "Who's logged in?" "It's showing as your credentials again?" Hartman gritted his teeth. "This isn't a hack. It's someone with access." He drove back to his office, the night pressing hard against the windshield. Inside, the building was dark, except for the blue hum of monitors from the evidence review room. He pushed the door open. A folder lay open on the table, his case file, and right on top of it sat the missing page. Transfer complete, confirmation code 49A7CN. Do not disclose to Hartman. This time, it wasn't just a copy. It was the original, stamped with an internal audit number that only law enforcement could assign. Hartman picked it up, heart pounding. The bottom corner had a faint smudge, someone's fingerprint in black toner dust. Claire appeared in the doorway, out of breath. "I tracked the signal here. Whoever accessed your drive was in this building 15 minutes ago." I turned the document toward her. "They left this behind." She took a careful step closer. "Michael, look at the audit stamp." He did. The code below the header wasn't from the tech firm's database. It was from the district attorney's office. Hartman's stomach dropped. This memo didn't disappear in the company's files. It was buried in ours. Claire looked pale. "Are you saying the prosecution planted it?" He shook his head slowly. "No, I'm saying they hid it, and someone wanted me to find it first." The rain outside deepened to thunder, echoing through the narrow hallway like a closing door.
By dawn, Michael Hartman's office looked less like a law firm and more like a war room. Papers were spread across the floor in a grid, case notes, email printouts, discovery lists, every trail leading back to the same point, the missing document that should never have existed. Claire sat across from him, pale but focused, scrolling through a backup drive. "Every time I search for the memo's reference code, it leads to a sealed archive. You don't have clearance for that folder." "Who does?" Hartman asked. "Assistant District Attorney Shaw, and one more, Detective Alvarez." Hartman rubbed his temples. Alvarez investigated Nolan's company before this case started. If that memo came from their side, he would have seen it. Claire hesitated. There's something else. The fingerprint on the paper? Lab ran it. It's partial, but it's not Alvarez's. It's yours. Hartman stared at her. Mine? She nodded. Left index finger. You must have touched it when you first found it. He exhaled sharply. Then whoever planted it used my prints to make it look like I created it myself. Claire looked uneasy. Michael, if that document shows a transfer to an offshore account, it could make you the one moving the funds. He stood, pacing the narrow room. So I'm not defending an innocent man anymore. I'm cleaning up a setup. She met his eyes. What are you going to do? Hartman stared at the binder, the one thing that had never left his sight. If they're framing me, there'll be a trace. They slipped it into my file. That means someone handled it inside this building. Maybe security footage, maybe metadata. He grabbed his coat. We're going to the courthouse. I want to see every camera from last night. Claire followed without a word. The courthouse was quiet that early, only the echo of their footsteps filling the corridor. The security officer frowned when Hartman requested footage. You need a written order, counselor. Hartman leaned forward. Then you'd better print one fast, because whoever accessed my file used your clearance logs to do it. The officer froze. Within minutes, the screens flickered to life. Timestamps rolled backward to 2:47 a.m., the exact minute Claire had mentioned. A figure appeared in the hallway outside Hartman's office, holding a briefcase identical to his. They used his keycard, entered, and stayed for less than a minute. The video resolution wasn't perfect, but when the intruder turned toward the camera, the light caught part of their face. It wasn't Detective Alvarez. It wasn't anyone from the DA's office. It was Claire. Hartman felt his pulse thundering in his ears as he turned toward her, but she was already stepping back toward the exit. And for the first time, since the trial began, the lawyer he was fighting wasn't about his client anymore. It was about surviving his own defense.
Michael Hartman stood frozen, eyes fixed on the monitor as the still frame glowed across the security screen. Claire, carrying his briefcase, swiping his keycard at 2:47 a.m. The silence in the control room felt suffocating. The guard shifted uncomfortably beside him. "That's your assistant, right?" Hartman didn't answer. His voice, when it came, was low and steady. "Can you print that frame?" The guard nodded, pressing the command. The image emerged, grainy but clear enough. Claire's face was angled toward the camera, calm, focused, deliberate. Hartman took the print and slipped it into his binder. "Lock the footage. Don't send it anywhere." He left the control room and walked into the empty corridor. Claire was gone, but her jacket still hung over the back of the office chair. He opened the pocket. Inside was a flash drive labeled with the same transfer code, 49A7CN. He inserted it into his laptop, half afraid of what he'd find. The drive contained a single document, an unedited version of the missing memo. This one included a signature line, "Prepared by C. Danner, Legal Associate." Hartman stared. Claire Danner. The text below revealed everything. The transfer wasn't a theft at all. It was an internal audit operation, a hidden test meant to identify which department was leaking funds. Claire hadn't framed him. She'd been part of the company's covert audit team. But someone inside the prosecution had twisted her data to look criminal. A sudden sound broke his thoughts, footsteps in the hall. He closed the laptop just as the door opened. It was Prosecutor Shaw. "Early start, counselor?" Shaw's tone was casual, but his eyes darted to the binder. Hartman held his ground. "I found something in discovery you might want to explain." Shaw smiled faintly. "You shouldn't look where you're not supposed to, Michael."
I could say the same about my office. Funny thing, people tend to leave fingerprints when they plant evidence. For the first time, Shaw's smile faded. You don't know what you're dealing with. Hartman stepped closer. I do now. You buried a company audit and turned it into a crime scene. They stared at each other in silence until Shaw finally turned away. You can't prove that. Hartman reached for his binder, opened it to the printed security photo, and laid it on the desk. I don't need to. The court's cameras already did. Shaw's expression flickered. Surprise, then quiet defeat. By noon, investigators had taken over the office. The case against Nolan was dropped. The charges against Hartman were never filed. That night, Michael sat alone at his desk, the binder finally closed for good. The page that had started it all, the one he'd found between sections 7 and 8, now rested in an evidence sleeve marked, "Recovered from counsel file, integrity verified." He exhaled, a faint smile crossing his face. For once, the truth hadn't needed defending. It had defended itself.